All right. Let's see. Is this thing live? Are we on? It might be a little bit hard to see us, man, in the background, but we want to make sure that we didn't get too much of a crazy reverb or echo there. But how you guys doing today, Keith? Katrina, how y'all?
We're good. We're good. You're on location.
Okay, good. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, our scenery is a little bit different.
It's a tad bit. It's a tad bit different and stuff. So first and foremost, again, everyone that's already tuned in, we definitely appreciate you all as always and jumping on. This actual live series today is a little bit different, right? This one is, instead of talking about all of the funky and fancy stuff of how to build a business, we're also going to talk about how to breathe, right? And when it's time to take a break. So right before we went live, Keith, you asked a very interesting question. And if you'd like to go ahead and pose that question again, we'll be happy to answer it for you.
So I know you're on location. I'll let you tell people where you are. Why did you choose the place that you're at?
Okay, so right now we're in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so, funny story, this was probably about a week or so ago. Kai and I was looking over across the office and I was looking at her and I could just tell that she was getting tired. And I think she could see the same with me. And so we tossed some ideas around. We just said, look, maybe we're going to take a vacation here soon, but we didn't put any kind of a timestamp on it at all, and we just kind of tossed back around, kept working. But last week, it was just like, that was just a busy week for us, extremely busy, a lot of stuff going on. And so we just said, I think it was on Wednesday, we said, okay, let's start looking for some flights. We were just going to maybe something down in Florida. So we looked at, not Destin, it's another spot close to there. I forget the name of it's like a little park within Destin that's supposed to be a nice little beachy area that we were going to go to. But then right when we were about to hit the button to pay for the flight, pay for the resort, Kaya just happens to say, maybe we should just check the weather. Right?
It's the woman thing, right?
Yeah. I'm we're all about trying to get things done, right? So I'm just trying to hit the button to go ahead and go, to just execute, right? We're executors, right, Keith? And so, so I'm hitting the button about to hit it. And she goes, wait, let's check the weather. So she goes on, she checks the weather, and it's supposed to be raining the entire weekend, all the way through next week in Florida. So then we said, well, tell you what, let's look at some other stuff, maybe in like Northeast, because there's some pretty cool beaches in the Maine area and Rhode Island, et cetera. So she says, this is a great idea, but let me just check the weather. So she checks the weather, and it's supposed to be like 60-something degrees. Yeah. So cold, you can't really go on. You could go on the beach, but you're going to have on probably like a jacket. You really can't get in the water. So we're saying, like, well, why do we want to go there? And so then we look at, let's just look at West Coast, right? So then we look at San Diego. And Kaya says, well, let me just check to make sure that the fires aren't impacting San Diego. And lo and behold, the fires are impacting San Diego. And so there's a gentleman that we know, and he probably doesn't know this. So if he doesn't end up watching it, then this is going to be funny for him. But it's a gentleman named Clinton that I saw him and his wife. They went to Scottsdale, Arizona. And this was like a couple weeks ago. And I says, Scottsdale, like what the hell is out in Scottsdale? But ironically, we look it up and it had some of the coolest and best resorts in the United States. We're like, wait a minute. So I'm going to be on a desert, essentially, where last week it was 100. I think their high last week was 118 degrees, 116, 115. So this week they're saying this is their low temperature week, where the high is today is going to be like 105 and stuff. But being that it's dry heat, it's not really bad at all.
It's very different.
It's
very different
totally
from
different.
heat on the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we look up some stuff and then we start getting gun shy. Yeah. So we're kind of like, okay, should we bite the bullet? Should we go ahead and make this maybe like a retreat for like business and relaxation? What should we do? And then Kaya just gets tired of it. Kaya says, Oscar, I think you went and took a nap.
I went to the nap.
She took a nap. She left me when I was looking at, typing and stuff. And I said, you know what? I think I deserve that because I'm being very indecisive. And so when she wakes up, I says, and this is on Thursday by this time. This is Thursday night. And I said, you may want to start packing. And so she's like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, our flight leaves at 7:45 in the morning on Friday and stuff. So we have to go. We rush over to Target. We have to go get the dog into the kennel.
Get the dog in the kennel. I mean, all this stuff that we've got to get done in a little window in order for us to get out. And I'm just like, well, you could have woke me up, or And he's just like, just get packed, get packed. I was like, okay, okay.
And so, but realistically, the moral of why I did that, Kaya doesn't know this. But when she was sleeping, I was walking into the room about to ask her about a design that the client needed for a user interface. And I saw how strong she was sleeping. It was like she was like in hibernation, and it's just like, holy shit, man, she's tired. She's like seriously tired, And so that's when I went ahead and said, screw it, bite the bullet, pay for it. Worry about it later, think about it later, just get out of town. And I think that was really the premise of why we wanted to have this kind of a conversation with everyone today, whether you're a business owner, whether you are married or not, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it may be. I do think that there's still that component of knowing when your mate is getting tired and when and how to react to that. I think that is a conversation worth having. Keith, Katrina, I'm sure I don't have to probably ask you because I'm sure you probably have had a time or two when you've gotten tired, I'd imagine. So what does that look like in your household? When you guys get tired or you need a break, do you know when? Can you tell when? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're getting emotional over here because of the fact that it couldn't have been more timely. When you sent me the email last night saying, so the subject is going to be this, and I think that was preceded by me asking you, hey, are we taking a break on Sunday? And it was kind of like, we're like, and I don't think you'll take this the wrong way because I just know you talk about that. It was like, if they say yes, I'm good. If they say no, I'm good. It doesn't really matter because yesterday was a jam-packed day.
Yeah.
And there was just a moment where like it's already like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and we've been working since 9 a.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And you're like, this isn't slowing down. And I so happened to get a message yesterday morning, which is funny because it was from somebody that was watching the Let's Talk series that contacted me about potentially becoming a new client. So it's like, well, I'm not going to turn away new business either because I think as us as entrepreneurs have this fear that the floor is going to drop out any day. Yeah. And we kind of live in that constant state of fear that any day we'll lose our biggest client or this is going to happen. And it's what keeps you up at night. And it's kind of what keeps you driven too. But to what point? Because we're all right now. And I'm not going to get. I
had to throw that in there. I saw Amy right there. Just
that is hilarious.
But I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to say
do it as much as you need to, man. It's all good.
It's emotional fatigue. Everybody is effing exhausted right now. We're in month number 6 of this, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And this week was just a fascinating week to be alive because of what was coming across our phones every day.
Yeah.
And on top of being married, on top of having a business, on top of having kids, on top of that, and we're all going through it.
Yeah.
And so for you to finally have the courage in a way, and I think there is truthfully right now, taking a vacation requires courage.
Yeah.
Because getting on a plane, we just celebrated a couple of days ago the anniversary of 9/11. When before that has there ever been a time people were more scared to get on an airplane?
Yeah.
And that's the reality of the world we're living in now, where if we're going to do something for ourselves, there's a fear that comes with it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the comment there. Yeah. So Keith, yesterday we were working on a client's work, and for me, I'm coming home every day and I'm working every day. So as you know, I'm a teacher, and we had a curriculum night, so I had to get ready for that. I did that Thursday night from home. But things at work are astronomically different. There are 1,000 more hurdles, and there's so much more at work that I don't even, like, I eat lunch while I'm working. I sit at my desk at 7:30. I do not leave my desk until 3:45 or 4. I come home, I work. We're caregivers for my mother who lives with us. We have children, one with ADHD who really needs as much care as we can give him for his grades. He's very bright, but, you know, fails a lot because he just can't focus, especially in this environment where some of his classes are virtual and some are in person because we can't have the kids at home. We don't have a way to do that. So for us, it is a constant just going. And we melted down this week. There was I had a complete breakdown. I mean, I said some choice words to my youngest son that I really regret, you know, and when we're working here, Keith was saying, like, his innovation, like, he's like, I can't even process anything. And I said, you need to stop working.
I believe my words were, my writing sucks right now.
Yeah,
and it was just bad.
So I was like, that's because you cannot be creative when your tank is empty. Like, I can be creative with the writing because I don't do it every day, day in and day out. I'm tired, but I'm doing something else for the majority of the workday. So I just kept telling him all day, I'm like, take a break. And every time I walk in, he'd be back on his computer working. So I think there's something to be said about your innovation and creativity. It definitely is lagging when you're exhausted, and it takes you twice as long. So you're way less efficient because it takes you twice as long to get something done that would normally take you, you know, just a small amount of time. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on something that can also be applied to the relationship side as well, right? So you mentioned that, you know, when you are kind of burned out or when you get tired, you can't really be innovative, but you also really can't really pour into your work. Right. Now apply that also to the relationship as well, right? Like, if you're empty, you know, how in the hell are you going to really be able to pour into your other partner to keep him or her motivated? You know, and that's what really starts to kick your ass a little bit, you know, down the line, man. And I think that's what was happening with us. I mean, it literally was sometimes when it's like, why am I snapping? Why am I being an asshole right now? Why am I not able to focus in on what I need to do as opposed to thinking about what she should be doing? You know, and it's like, when you start seeing those kind of things occurring, you really do have to take a step back. It's especially in entrepreneurial, when you're taking this entrepreneurial journey. I mean, it's almost critical. Like, work, but play is almost just as important as work when you're trying to build a business. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to make this into something that now almost becomes like another job. So now you go for your 9 to 5, right? And you're supposed to be going to do your passion work, and it feels like another 9 to 5. So essentially now you're working 16-hour days. You know, if you're looking at an 8 hour at work and then 8 hours when you get home. And so where do you have time for yourself, right? And I think that's really where we have seen it happen. And to your point, Keith, you said something that was spot on, man. Dealing with the pandemic right now for the last 6 months. Add that on top of, you know, the stresses of work, then you look at the stresses of life, and then now you're trying to figure out what is 2021 going to look like? You know, all those things, man, definitely, you know, has a toll. It definitely takes a toll on everybody for sure, man. So I'm hearing you. So let's see. Amy wrote a note here. Let's see. I don't think our colleagues realize that our cup is empty now, and recharge or break is needed without regret or guilt. Without regret or guilt.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That was part of the reason why I think it was so hard for us to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and it took us so long to actually do it. I think there's a part of you that can feel when you're starting to run dry before you actually get there. And there's telltale signs like, you know, like Katrina was saying, you know, just being able to focus on something that normally would take you 5 minutes and now it's taking you 30. Yeah. You know, the telltale signs that show up, but you don't want to, you kind of feel guilty about not holding up your side of the bargain, especially when you've got a partner, y'all both are working towards a goal. You feel guilty about not holding up your end. So you're still pushing through that. And eventually there comes a time when you just have to, turn to each other and be like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like I really, even if it's just for a day, I just need to step away for like a day and just breathe,
And without feeling like you are letting anyone down.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the most important parts, because realistically, you start letting down people when you're really burned out and when you really needed to have some time to unplug and to recharge. And the other person, sometimes all of us can be a little bit selfish at times when it's like, I know you're tired, but we're still going to get this done. But then what happens is you grow to kind of regret and also resent the work, and I was like, I guess I got to go write this now, and it's like, but this is what you're good at. This is what your passion is, So when to take that time to just step away, man, we didn't realize it as important as it was until earlier this week. Now, granted, we've been doing this for a long time, but this week, and piling on the pandemic and everything else that's going on, and just the amount of work. I mean, on Saturday, today is Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So on Saturday morning, right? I literally tried to unplug my brain. I had a meeting. Ironically, I had a Zoom meeting right before this with a client. But on Saturday morning, we closed a deal with another she's not a young lady, but she's her and her husband are service-disabled veteran-owned small business owners, and they want us to help them to kind of build. So we're going to be talking to you, Keith, and Katrina about some writing stuff with them. But nonetheless, you don't know this yet. I'm sorry. but you'll be helping us with a few things there. But just talking with her, and I told her that, me and my wife, we needed to take a break. And she even said, look, if we need to stop this call now, it's okay for you guys to go and unplug. And because she's older and she gets it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Us young whippersnappers, so to speak, sometimes I think we have that notion that we can continue to burn on both ends of the candle, man. And eventually you burn out. You burn out. I think we were starting to reach that point, and that's the full transparency to everyone listening and watching, man. We burned out, and so it was like, get out of town, just drink, eat, play some golf, relax, get in the pool, be pool bums the whole day. That kind of stuff was just important, man. And I would encourage anyone watching this to do the same. And even if there's any kind of financial barriers to where you might not be able to go and book a flight a day before, there are still things you can do. You can just unplug your phone and just unplug your laptop and say, look, I'm going to take 2 days off, and you and your spouse go do some shit. If it's go walk around the block, you can go do that. But there's always something that can be done to recharge. And I think that was really one of the messages that we wanted to make sure that we really spoke to everybody about today.
I got a question for you too. And I think this, just because you're taking a physical vacation doesn't necessarily you're taking a mental vacation or an emotional vacation. And doing the mental unplugging is what I believe. I mean, I think I'm okay to say we're 4 cerebral people who constantly are playing this game in between these years. And how are you able to take off just to unplug that day and say, I'm not worrying about this. I just can't. I'm not going to. Because I want to give a quick example. Katrina and I went for a hike in the mountains of Georgia on Saturday. And I remember I got just something happened and my mind just would not escape. I was thinking, I got this to do, I got that to do. How am I going to do this when I got this to do? Oh crap, Katrina needs me for this, so how am I going to do this? That it's just that game.
Basically, was hiking alone. It was supposed to be our day to spend time together, and we've had this discussion of he will get kind of sullen, and he's owning it, so I can say that he'll get kind of sullen and in his head. And I'm here trying to pull him out. And then I'm stressed because I'm like, why is he not having fun? I have to make it fun. I have to, and then I'm not having fun because I'm like, And we had decided after one of our conversations that that's what we're going to do every other Saturday when we don't have our boys. They're his stepkids. So we would go somewhere where it was safe, where we wouldn't bring something back home to my mother, like a hike, really, this was about two and a half hours away. And, we would run into people and do something like that. And so it was tough because of that dynamic. And I felt like, well, I'm annoying him. And later on, he was like, yeah, you were annoying me. And you shouldn't have been annoying me. I don't know why you were annoying me. So it's that, how do you remove yourself in a way where you're in a safe space and you're not surrounded with those thoughts of work and responsibility all the time?
I would say you have to talk to yourself as far as being present in the moment, right? And you kind of owe it to your partner. You owe it to yourself to be present in that actual moment for what you're doing. The work is going to be there. It's going to be there when you get back. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be sitting on the desk waiting on you when you get there, But if you made a conscious effort to unplug for, however long a day, a few hours, whatever it might be, you have to talk to yourself to be present in that moment. And just accept that, and understand that you only get so many moments in a lifetime. If you look at it that way, what's the thing that you told me about? You only get so many summers in a lifetime. You only get so many moments in a lifetime, and so you have to take full advantage of the ones that you get, and I know that sometimes your mind is still going to be racing on everything, but just saying to yourself before you walk out the door to do whatever event that you want to do or activity that you want to do, saying to yourself, I'm going to be present in what I'm doing right now, can change that whole perspective. It can change that whole trajectory, and it can actually help program your mindset to say, okay, it's relax time. It's time to let go.
And I know that sometimes that can be a lot easier said than done, right? And in my mind, and this is just total straight transparency, man, it's hard for me to turn my brain off. It is very hard. When I know I have a lot of work, it keeps me up at night. I wake up and I'm thinking, I'm looking back at my phone and I'm jotting down notes. And, and one of the things that I realized is that worryation impacts her and impacts her negatively, so because when she sees me worried or sees me, constantly, scrambling in my brain, then it worries her. And so because I realized that, it's one of those things where I say, you know what, I have to find a way to unplug, like seriously unplug, and realize that you don't owe anybody anything outside of you and your partner, right? And it's like all your clients, like if you tell us, like Keith and Katrina, both of you provide us with a service when it comes to blogging and writing and some of the awesome work. By the way, the work Keith, the write-up you did, dude, it was phenomenal, dude. But so anyway, but we'll talk about that again. Beyond, that totally wowed me, man. I mean, it did strike a few tears out of me, man. So thank you for doing that. But yeah, man, absolutely. One of the things that, I heard, when we think about this stuff, it's almost like, you're going down this path, you're working hard, and then all of a sudden you look up, for a second, and it's like, if I tell Oscar and Kaya that we need a break, are they going to now say the contract is over? No, we're not going to. If we have a client and we say, look, Kaya and I are tired, we need a break. If we've done good work and we've built the right rapport with that client, are they really going to say that client or that contract is now over because you need a break? And if they do say that, what does that mean? Do you really need that kind of a client? Is it better to go back to beanie weenies for a while and ramen noodles and not being able to take trips to Scottsdale for your sanity? And I think that the sanity side is a lot more important because at the end of the day, the client is going to eventually phase out, right? But you don't want your wife or your husband to eventually phase out, so it's like there's that part that I think is a lot more important.
And then there's the key element of you went into business for yourself so that you could balance, you know, life and work, you know, and you could do something that you're passionate about. So then there's that aspect of it. If I'm burning myself out, am I really doing what I set myself up to do?
Yeah.
You know, which is to enjoy life, to enjoy what I'm doing on a daily basis and really live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
Am I doing that?
Yeah.
You know,
last week we spent the time talking about, you know, lifestyle versus scalable companies, right? And like when we talked last Sunday, and a lot of this has to do with that. It's like, it's two very different types of commitments that you're going to have, that you're going to have to make, you know, as entrepreneurs. It really is going to come down to, one, do I want to scale or do I want to have a lifestyle? But then within that, how do we also maintain our sanity? And then we have to also try to keep that commitment with your significant other, right? So if you're saying, you know, when it's time to take a break, I promise you we're going to take a break. It's hard, but you're going to have to be able to commit to it, you know. And when you do have those times, even if you have to tell your clients, because some of your clients are going to be demanding. I have some clients that are going to text you or send notes to you at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, right? And it's kind of like, but it's up to you to respond. They didn't ask you to respond, but they did what it was in their mind. It was in their mind. And this is when I learned that, because and you remember this in the very beginning.
Yeah.
One of our key clients would text or send notes at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. But what I quickly learned was, and I said this to him, I said, well, I asked him, I said, you know, because I was responding, right? I mean, when I heard my phone chime, I'm up. I'm replying right back immediately. Then he says, you know, Oscar, I never asked you to reply back. It's just that he sleeps differently. So his patterns are more like he takes naps throughout the day. He stops and he unplugs from 6 p.m. to like 11 p.m. Mm-hmm. So when he wakes up at 11 p.m., he's back on fire. So he's moving, he's texting. And so I'm like, oh, so I don't have to respond back. And he's like, no, I never asked you to respond back, dude. Like, I'm glad you did.
But this is how I get my stuff out, you know, and what I need to process for myself, I get it out at that time. So it's out there. And whenever you get up and you're on your cycle, then you respond to me, you know, and we get things moving, we get the ball rolling. So yeah. And I think Amy makes a good point here, you know, that it is a fear. And, you know, how do you be transparent with your employer to be able to ask for a recharge day without retaliation? I think, you know, one, you have to be willing to lose that client or that employer for your sanity and for your relationship, period, right? Unless your employer or your client is more important than the person that sleeps next to you every night, then, you know, it's okay. Because at the end of the day, you always find another one. Money will always come, you know, opportunities will always come. But you know, most of the time, you know, once you've got married, that's the person that you quote unquote would like to spend the rest of your life with, you know. And so I think you owe it to that significant other, you know, to be transparent and say, look, I need a break. And then we have to both go to that client and let them know, like how Kaya said, and that was actually a comment that my dad would always say, work is going to always be there. Yeah.
So talk to my dad.
Yeah, there you go.
Shucks. Here we go.
And one thing, going back to Amy's comment, you know, PTO was created for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, PTO, work-life balance, all these key things that you hear companies talk about, it was created for a reason.
Yeah.
You can't perform if you're burnt out.
Yep.
So you have to have a day or two to, you know, take a vacation, take a day off. Yeah. You have to. And I think that your client or your employer is going to be more receptive to you coming back full throttle than you sticking around and producing mediocre work. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So you have to balance it and look at it from that perspective.
I think that's the thing with just what Amy's saying right now. Keith and I will be on a walk, and I just want 20 minutes of your time, and this is him. And so we have gotten into arguments about it, and he gets very defensive because he's like, I have been trying, you know, I've been freelancing forever. I'm trying to get this business going. I'm the chief operating guy. I've got to do. And I'm like, look, you are going to train your clients how you respond. So you cannot keep up the pace, and we have to have some time together. Now, granted, I'm not innocent. I'll come home and be on Facebook, or just mind-numbing things at night in bed. So we've said the phones go away at a certain time, and sometimes we have to remind each other. But he is that person who's like, if they text me at 3 a.m. and he's awake, he's going to text. For me, I learned a long time ago, because I think parents can be the most demanding clients ever. And when you have, like this year, I have 31 students, so I have, a lot of parents to deal with. I learned a long time ago to only respond on my work email, my work text, and not to give them phone numbers, because I had to learn that, because I had parents that were emailing me, and I was checking my work email at home, and I'm responding at midnight and have to get up at 5:30 the next morning to go in. So I learned that because I had let that boundary just slip. And like yesterday, when this new client asked if we could meet right away, and they weren't pushing us, but Keith is the type that's like, oh, let's just grab the business now. I was like, we could have said, hey, we're really packed today. Why don't we meet? We have this time, and this time on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. How about that? And so that was us learning each other and how we like to run things. But I think it's very important that you set boundaries, and that you just know that we need time for each other, and we need time, like you said, to breathe. And we're not getting that time right now at all. There's no time to breathe.
Well, and it was something that was conditioned in me, and I don't know about you guys. Years ago, I had this pain in the ass client when I was working in radio, and he was very difficult to get on, but he was significant in size. And one day he sent an email. I was like 8 o'clock at night, and I got right on it, said, no worries, I'll see you tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And he responded back by saying, Keith, that's why I always like doing business with you. You were always quick to get back to me and made me feel important. And I'm like, okay, because he saw that I valued his time, whatever. That's how you do it. So that right at that my young, impressionable, early on mind said, okay, it doesn't have to be this soliloquy of a response, which I'm notorious for. It could be just a quick, got it, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Got it, heard, something like that, to at least let that person know I value your time. That's it was like tattooed. And it is hard, because at that same time, keeping up that pace, I told her the reason I left radio, well, many reasons why I left radio, but a major reason was my phone used to have a blinking light on it whenever I got a text.
Oh, yeah.
I would wake up at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and that thing might as well have been on top of a air tower, because it was so bright to me. Yeah. And it was just overwhelming my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, who is it? What's wrong? That was the instant. It was like the parent of a teenager wondering, is it the police? Is my son in bed? I don't know. You're just having these horrible thoughts. Yeah. And so you rush to it, and you realize, no, it was just, Old Navy sending you a coupon. But, and it's not sustainable. However,
say that you can't do that,
and you're worried, is it going to affect this person to the right of me because of a little plastic thing to the left of me?
And that's why sleep mode and do not disturb are amazing. You can set time limits and everything, and then it just gives you boundaries. And I've had to learn that because I've had to do it with my children, and now I have to do it with myself. And I think, Keith, you put yours on do not disturb at night now too, right?
I turn the volume.
Oh, he turns the volume off.
Because it goes all night.
That's a good step.
So, but you really do have this, and especially when you're new starting out, and I'm sure you guys can attest.
Yeah.
Every single thing you're like, is it an opportunity that I cannot afford to miss?
Yeah.
And
well, the pressure's on him because he knows that I'm very dissatisfied in my job, which is, I'm good at my job. I mean, I'm not very confident in a lot of things, but I'm very confident as a teacher. I know I'm very good at what I do, and I'm a caring person, and I really do it for the kids and the parents, but I'm burnt out, and it's my 14th year and I'm burnt out. So he feels that pressure of, we have to get this business to where you can find a different job part-time or something and work for us part-time until eventually we can get full-time, and I think I worry that is going to lead to resentment because he's working so hard to make one of my dreams possible. And that resentment piece is so tied into guilt. Because you put that on yourself, you have an expectation of yourself that the other person did not put on you. And I know I feel this all the time. And then I started getting resentful of that person when it's all in my head.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I can. I'm sorry, go ahead, Keith.
I was just going to say, and I need this business to be generating $100,000 within X amount of time. And that's all that's going through my head. I need this business to be generating $100,000 a year to get her out of school,
but not at the expense of our marriage.
Because I'm scared that the school is going to come at the expense of our marriage. Too. So it's just such a very double-edged sword that we're playing with it, and we're just trying to figure it out while it's happening. It's not like you have that moment to step back and go, okay, well, let's reassess, let's create this, let's do a plan here. Oh shit, my phone is ringing, never mind. Oh shit, my kid needs me, never mind. And all this stuff is all happening at the same time. So these, by the way, can I just tell you, these sessions are very therapeutic.
They are, though. They really, truly are.
On both sides. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
It's like you're in a circus on a daily basis, and you're constantly performing with all the responsibility. I mean, you guys know you're constantly performing, and so you never think, oh, I might need to take a step back, because you don't have time to. You have to keep selling tickets. You got to keep bringing the people in, and you got to keep the performance up. And so, like what you're saying, we've got to take a break. We have to force ourselves to say, no, we're closed for the day.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that Keith, I heard you say, which I can 100% relate to, is having a number in mind and then saying, I got to get this number by the end of the year, or I got to hit this number to take care of my family. And I totally get that, and I respect it. One of the things that I would say to that, as just a thinking point, is when you have that number, you'll get it. You'll get the number. But then you ask yourself, at what cost, right? What did I gain and or lose behind getting that number, right? And then you start to ask yourself, does it outweigh that number, right? And so I'm saying this because we've experienced it. This isn't just some shit that we looked up in a Google search and said, try this. This is stuff that has happened, to where we're like, we want a restaurant. We had the restaurant. We got the restaurant. It was one of the largest ones in Charlotte. 12,000 plus square feet, 100 employees. It was huge. It was great thing that was happening. But when we looked at it, the first year we did about 1.4 million. It was a great thing that we were doing. But then when we looked over to each other, we were looking at two strangers. And it was like, yeah, we got the numbers.
but I don't know him anymore, and he doesn't know me.
Right. So we got the numbers, but I'm losing my marriage. And then you start to ask yourself, was it really worth it? And then you start saying to yourself that things like beanie weenies and noodles for dinner, those kind of things start to become more valuable because at least now you're happy and you're content and you're making each other happy, and you remember why you actually married that person in the first place. And I think that sometimes getting back down to the basics is important in any way, shape, or form, and even in business. Sometimes when you lose it all is when you really gain it all. And sometimes when you actually kind of recalibrate a bit and say, look, I need just a couple weeks to figure all this shit out. I need some time to just figure it out. What I'm doing right now is not sustainable. It's not going to work. So let me figure out some ways for me to get this working first. Right. And for us to get back on accord. And once this happens, then the other stuff will start to fall back in place, and because I think the best moment we had was when we shut the doors of that restaurant and we gave the keys away. That was one of the most, but when we first got it, it was the best feeling in the world to receive the keys. Yeah. We got our dream. We wrote this bit because we had wrote the business plan for that restaurant 5 years prior to us actually getting it. Yeah. And we had been thinking about it. We had been trying to, ask the universe for this. And so we got it. But what we didn't ask the universe was, can I have this restaurant and still maintain a healthy relationship and marriage? I didn't say that part. I just asked for the restaurant. So I got that. We got the money. It was really great. And the same thing on our contracting side. You ask for the business, you'll get it. But then you have to ask yourself, at what cost? What am I willing to sacrifice? Is it time? Is it the relationship? Is it my kids? Is it, all these different things that will be impacted in some way, shape, or form. And that's where that conversation component comes back in. There's a piece that I don't think we got further into it before, but it's our introspective analysis.
Yeah.
That I think it's within our book. And what we'll do is we'll probably pull it up next time. I don't think I have it on here now to pull it up. But there's an introspective analysis that we do that essentially, or did we do that before?
No,
I don't think we ever did it. So essentially what we're doing is we're looking at, 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years, retro back behind us. And then we look at 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year going forward. And then we figure out what were the hurdles that prevented us from doing well prior, and then what are the things we're going to negate so we can go forward. And all these things, man, is what I think would be helpful for not only the two of you, but really for others that have watched or are going to watch this video as well. It really does take some time to really truly think about those sort of aspects, man, of life, before you go ask for the money. Because you and I, Keith, we're similar. Because when I hear you talk, it's like he's more of like, this is the number, I need to hit this number, and I'm going to go, balls to the walls to make sure I hit this number, but then the problem is the person that's next to you is slowly shrinking. They're slowly and surely getting smaller and smaller. And eventually they start asking themselves, where do I fit at in this big equation that he has in his mind? He's got this big equation, where do you fit in?
Yeah, I think that's true. I feel like I have a vision of, I do want the work, but at the same time, I want to be selective because I know the work we take now is going to be the foundation of our company, and who we choose to partner with is going to be the foundation of our work. And I want to make sure that we choose good partners like you guys. We know who you are. We know your hearts. We know how much you care about what you do and how much you care about each other and your clients. And I want to make sure we're aligning with people like you. When we take just anything, sometimes we choose people that aren't, I don't know how to say it, but that just don't align with our values, and they don't align with what we really need in our.
I know who she's speaking of, so that's what I'm saying.
So I think that's a huge part, because that is a foundation. And from that business is going to come more business. So if you're aligning with people that have your same values, they're going to be partnering with people that have the same values. Absolutely. And the same goals in life. And like you said, they're going to understand when you need to take a break, because you understand when you need to take a break. Yeah. So I see it as we are just completely laying the foundation for this building that we are slowly building. And I know we're in a rush in a lot of ways, but we still have to step back and say, okay, well, like what you said, it's growth mindset completely. What mistakes have we made? How can we look at those mistakes, and what can we do going forward to learn from those mistakes and grow from them?
Yeah.
I think we've all come across the shark who doesn't give a hell about anybody else. He or she just, I got a number, I'm getting that number. I will kill everybody around me to get that number. And we've all come across that person, and you're like, yeah, I don't like them. I'm not a fan. You see them across them, and they're tough to be around. But at the same time, you're like, there's a bit of it's Michael Jordan. Nothing else matters. That's what matters. But what we don't see is what's happening at home. A marriage, kids feeling neglected, and all that stuff that comes with it. I mean, I've never loved anybody. Well, but I've never loved somebody as much as I love this woman next to me. And I can't love my profession more than I love this person next to me. But at the same time, you have something in you saying, okay, but this is your family business, and you got to make it work. And the only way to get that is if you fully commit. And you got to remember that you made a vow over here, and you can have a commitment over there. And so, and knowing and reminding yourself of the vow is much more important than that commitment. Because we can have other commitments in life, but we only have one vow, that promise to that person throughout everything. I'm going to do what it takes to make sure this works before that. But it is the voice in the back of your head. And I think the partner, kind of like me being just this moody son of a bitch during a hike that wouldn't speak to his wife because I was thinking about a social media post that bothered me or some just nonsensical horseshit like that. I gotta have that accountable partner that is gonna call you out on that and say, knock it off. And I need to be able to do that back and say, okay, I hear you, but knock it off. And I understand you, and I love you, but knock it off. Because I know where you're at, and you know where you're at, and you know what, that's not healthy. And I think that at the end of the day, we do have to remind ourselves what exactly we need more than what our needs are greater than our wants. And I need this more than I want that. So
Totally tracking, man.
I'm gonna throw something in there that we're probably gonna have to talk about on another discussion, but there's also that element of you can't totally rely on this person sitting next to you to make you happy, right? So you've got to carve out some time for you to focus in on you as well, right? And do something, even if it's just 30 minutes a day, to do something that relaxes you or makes you happy or just gives you just a chance to breathe for a few seconds. You've got to do that every single day. I would schedule that into your schedule to make sure that you do that. I have a reminder that goes off every day at 3:00. And, sometimes I miss it because I might be on a work call, but it goes off every day at 3:00 that says, breathe, take 10 minutes to breathe. And I put that on my phone for that specific purpose. Take 10 minutes, Kaya, just step away from your desk and breathe. Even if it's just you go to the restroom or you just walk outside, whatever it is, just breathe, and that is my self-help for what's going on with me. I might be heads down in design, I might be heads down in some paperwork, and that alarm goes off and it's like, okay, yep, that's my reminder. Okay, let me go do this for 10 minutes real quick and come back. So just taking care of yourself, doing something for yourself every single day is another way, because then you're feeding yourself so that you can feed your partner and that you can be, relaxed and find some kind of equilibrium between the work and the home life as well.
I agree. Yep. And I think a very attainable way to do this will be if you put it on your calendar for a reminder on your phone and just do it for 21 days. And I know that seems aggressive or whatever, but, we've all heard how things become habits after 21 days. And I think that we have to kind of do the same exact thing when we first got started, as well, was like, okay, let's put it on the calendar, let's make it meaningful. Now, 5+ years later, it's something that just happens normally. You kind of anticipate that reminder coming on and going off and stuff. So it's always good to have those different little, reminders in there. But if you do it, again, try for 21 days, put on your calendar, me time, and if that's 5 minutes of just stepping away, and whatever you do with that me time is up to you. I know I have my me time that I do what I need to do, what's important for me to be able to get back in front of the computer and not throw the computer, right? And stuff. So it's like you have to take those kind of times, man. Amy makes a point here about, self-care is just as important as a staycation. I 100% agree. You know what I mean? Sometimes being selfish is healthy in your relationship if it's for the betterment of the two of you, right? Because how we said earlier, you can't pour into someone else if you don't have anything within you to pour. You know what I mean? And then the other person has to pour into you. We talked a couple of weeks ago about 100%, and we talked about how each person has to be giving 100%. It's not a 50-50 thing. it's 100%.
Yeah.
And on the times when someone, let's say if she's down at 70%, now I've got to give 130%, because I have to be the pour that extra 30% into her. She gets her cup fills back up, and those are the kind of things that's important in business. And I think once you apply that, when you say to your client or to your employer, I need a break, I'm tired, they will respect it because they'll see it. They'll be able to relate, they'll understand. And again, and if they don't, then you have to ask yourself, is it really worth having that kind of a client?
Yeah.
Well, and I also think you're doing your client a bit of a disservice if you're not able to even come close to giving your 100% off.
Right.
And if you, because there was a moment yesterday, I looked at Katrina, I go, I am just not producing. And I kind of try to, or I pride myself on being a producer and just being like, I'm hammering things out and I can hammer things out. And there was a moment yesterday, I had to write a bunch of stuff and I'm like, this is shit. It was so bad. I mean, it was like a 4-year-old was writing better than me. And she was reading and she goes, so I polished what you wrote. This is what I came up with. And I'm like, thank God for you. Because, but at the same time, I'm like, but here's the problem. I had so much work. I had to keep knocking out. It's like, well, I have to either figure out something I can do where I don't have to be very creative, or I don't know.
Take a break.
But that word, and that word wasn't really coming through.
He wasn't hearing it at all.
No. So it was like, I just got this. I got this. I'm like, I imagine what I'm like. I think we should all be video recorded when we're because it is that meltdown. I got this. Oh yeah, and everybody's.
I think Kai recorded me one time when I was in one of my rants. This was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah,
something like that. I didn't know how bad I was. I didn't realize how much and how I really sounded. And when I heard it, it was like, oh wow! Now I understand why this affects her so much. Because I think in my mind, I was thinking that. I'm just trying to get stuff done. I'm just trying to get this number, and then when I saw it, she's like, just look at this and just listen to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was small things, like little small things that was just setting him off. And I'm like, normally I could just say that and it would be no big deal, and it was triggering it. It was triggering it.
Yeah.
And, even his response to some of our clients or, it was just agitation there, and it's like
from a good place. Yeah.
It literally took me saying, look, stop. You're like, walk away from the computer. We're not doing no work today. Walk away from the computer. And then the next day he just was calm and cool, collective, and he was knocking things out like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. But it took him actually seeing himself being stressed out and being overwhelmed to trigger that, hey, I need to come up for air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that is this is always a constant learning thing.
It is.
So this isn't something that we're by any stretch of the imagination saying that we've got this shit figured out. Because guess what?
No.
We just talked to you in the beginning of this call or this live that we were struggling and we hit a wall. And it was like, okay, either I'm going to have to take a break or I'm going to end up snapping on either a client or my wife or something, and no one deserves that.
Yeah.
Only thing they're asking for is a service, right? And then on your wife, she just asking for you to just be her husband, and it's like, figure that part out first. And so it's like, let me get this part straight, because once I got this part together, then going back and being in a meeting or talking to a really, tough client or having a lot of work to do, it's not so big anymore, because it's like, man, I'm happy at home. I'm good. I just had a good vacation. I can come back and I can recharge and burn through it. But then also it's okay if within 3 months you need another vacation, then take it. You know, and to Amy's point, if that's a staycation, if that's a, you know, going, taking a walk, whatever you need to do,
30 minutes.
you know, but it's absolutely critical, man. So that was what was on, you know, our minds that we wanted to share, you know, and when we sent this over to you, Keith and Katrina, you know, what was it, yesterday, I think, or the day before, I was happy that the two of you were okay with this kind of a topic. You know, because I felt like if we were going through it right then in real time, so it was like, why not talk about a time to breathe? You know what I mean? Because it's timely. And I think everyone that has either already been on the live here today or will be logging in to view it at some point, I think they might have some level of being able to relate to something like that as well.
And just adding a few things, it gets better over time, right? Because we can sense it now. Whereas in the beginning, we used to just burn straight through, and it would make things worse. But we're starting to be able to sense it, and we're picking it up on each other now, and we're starting to recognize the signs and say, "Hey, did you take a moment today?" Or so it gets better.
Did you have a nap today?
You're naturally we're programmed, especially here in the United States. I'm going to say we're programmed to work. And achieve. We're not programmed to really focus on ourselves and getting rest and you know, the proper things that we need in order to be healthy and happy. So it's a societal type of thing. It's always going to be there. There's always going to be something in your head that's telling you, I could do more, I could do better, I can, you know, it's just how we're programmed. Yeah. But just being able to see the signs and stuff like that, it helps to kind of balance things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think that's one thing that's hard for me with Keith is like when I have a weekend and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a day. It's hard for me to do that when I see him working the entire day, because then I feel like I am not giving my 100% to the business. And that's why I think we have to remind each other that it's okay, because like yesterday I wanted to stop, but he was just plugging away. And I'm like, I can't stop if he's working so hard. Like, I have to match him. I have to make sure I'm giving what, you know, as much as he is. And that's part of that guilt too. So it has to be a marriage decision that we're going to take breaks, that we're going to give each other time alone when we need it and time together when we need it.
And there is something though, and I will say this, that I do love my work. I love writing. Mm-hmm. I hate it. I mean, I effing despise it, but I love it. You know, there are times where, and for anybody that's creative, they will completely attest to this. It's a struggle, it's a grind, but when you're doing it well, you can walk on water. Yeah. And it is just an amazing feeling. And it's that drug that we always keep trying to go after. But we do have to remember, for not only this, but for just this, you gotta, all right, we're just gonna close things and walk away for a little bit, because, you know, we've exhausted everything.
Yeah.
And it's all right. And just remind yourself, and that's okay. It's okay to be exhausted. It's okay to be tired. It's okay that, you know, somebody else may get the contract, but I didn't want the thing anyway. I want something different, you know? And I think said what you spoke to very well about, well, you don't want that type of client. And you're like, you're right. You're right. I mean, when I aligned with you two, I knew it. It was just like, I'm hitching on to them. I mean, because I really love what you guys are. And I have a few people like you who I am lined up with that I'm just, this company that was just one blog at one point and is turning into something, is on the shoulders of a lot of people that really helped me out. And I don't want to let them down, but I also got to take on the new clients too to make sure it grows. But I want this to grow more than anything. And that's what I'm doing. So.
Totally digging that, man. And one thing that before we close out, that I heard Katrina say, on the side of, you know, not really wanting to, if you see, like, you know, Keith's working hard, you don't want to not be working hard too. And sometimes there's that element of knowing work is kind of like subjective, right? So if you think about it, you could be doing something like maybe I'm going to fix dinner today, or maybe I'm going to do something else that will just offset some of the load off of him, and vice versa. There's times when I see Kaya that's like she's in the trenches doing her design or doing her thing, and I may just pop up and say, look, I'll make dinner, or I'll grab something else. So it's like, yeah, I may not be as busy as her today, but I can do something to help kind of offset it a little bit without having to feel like I have to have my hand in the book as well, or I have to have my hand in front of the computer as well. So there's just, again, little small, like little tidbits like that we have, it's really just been trial and error. But it seems like it works, on those times when I see her down in the trenches and vice versa, where she'll see me down. She may just come by and either make a joke, or she might say, look, I'm going to cook today, or I'm going to take care. I went ahead and took care of these 3 other things that you may normally have to do. I went ahead and I did those, so now you don't have to worry about it. And so some of those things can be helpful, just as much, man. So, again, we really appreciate everyone, kind of tuning in today. I saw we had quite a few people coming in and out and making comments and stuff, and we definitely appreciate that. Anything final that you want to?
Nope. I think just it's a work in progress, and you keep trying new things in order for you to find your balance. And none of us are perfect, so it's an ebb and flow type of thing. Yeah.
Keith, Katrina, anything final?
Yeah, go enjoy your vacation. Get up. And thank you.
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. Well, thank you again, everyone. Definitely enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be back on this thing the next few days. Yeah. All right, take care. All right.